Hello, everybody. Steve here from The Very Life, and today we're talking about health and fitness, and we're going to jump right in, as you can tell by the title, fitness. Ultra processed foods make you fat. See, and we have a worse quality of life now than ever before, and it's like, we've got tons of people that are on. Oh, they're just old and decrepit, and it's so terrible. The world is ending, and we have this rampant decline. And even though we're living longer, we're pumped up on medications and we're just hating life. But is that really true? This all stemmed from a conversation, and it is really, really interesting. So we're going to go over this stuff. And I've noticed there used to be this thing about processed foods. Processed foods were bad. They were evil. They're the reason that everything is wrong with the world, that our health crisis and so on and so forth. And yet, at the time that processed foods were brought about, which had stabilizers and preservatives and was able to get food to more people who were basically starving and had a hard time getting food, we saw a corresponding rise in the quality of life. We've seen better infant mortality. Life expectancy continues to get better. And aside from COVID and that whole China-US funded fiasco of releasing the monkey virus into the masses with bats and all kinds of other strange creatures, we won't even get into that. Our life expectancy is at an all-time high. Now, with that, you'll have people say, well, processed foods is terrible, and that's the reason why we have heart attacks, because a long time ago, they didn't even have heart disease. Hello? Does nobody think anymore? Does nobody have any common sense? Apparently not. If you look at the ages in which people get heart disease and so on and so forth, heart attack, stroke, it is usually much later in life. And way back when life expectancies was 40 and mid 40s and, early 50s, that was before the time when heart disease and strokes and a lot of those things actually come into play. So yeah, it's not causation that processed foods caused all these things. It's because way back when, it's like, oh, well, we need to eat like 100 years ago because look how healthy they were. 100 years ago, life expectancy, I would probably be gone by now. I would not be in as good a shape as I am. It's just a fact that the generations today have a better quality of life. They're living longer, and they're doing things that previous senior generations and generations before them just wouldn't do. They didn't even live that long. So saying that processed foods is, of the devil, and now we've got this term ultra processed foods is really, really evil. Processed foods are evil, but these are satanic evil, Sam Smith, Lady Gaga level Illuminati evil. It is just the bane of our existence and is just going to destroy everything. The problem is, if you look at a graph of when they started doing processed foods and stabilizers and preservatives to get food to people that were food hungry, or food oases is what we call them today, it brought about the fortification of vitamins and iron and minerals and into our foods that produced a healthier civilization. Yes, they're processed foods, but does it mean that processed is evil and bad? Well, if it was, when they came up with the processed foods and how that is steadily increased over time, what would we see is a corresponding rise in heart attack, strokes, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, we don't see that. And we would definitely not see a high life expectancy as we're experiencing these days. Like I said, aside from COVID, we are really a healthier generation. Now, some people will get on and say, oh, people are full of drugs, and it's just, you can't stop time. When you were born, you were starting that process of dying, and eventually your cells are going to wear out. You're going to succumb to some type of illness, disease, or something other. And until somebody makes the magic fountain of youth pill for us to live for eternity, we're going to die eventually of something. So, trying to mix in processed food and the process of where people are going to die, Yeah, way back when people were only living to their mid 40s, early 50s, and they were croaking off. And now life expectancy is in 70s, 80s, and 90s. And we have a better quality of life, and especially more when we have responsible nutrition and exercise and recovery, and we keep our minds and our cognitive facilities operating, and we keep exercising all those things, along with the spiritual aspect and our mental health. If we combine and do all these things together, we can have an awesome quality of life. It doesn't guarantee us that we will be free from sickness, disease, or death, obviously. They're working on that, but I don't think we'll see that, at least not in my lifetime. But it's amazing how people will equate strange things and say, well, processed and this and that, or ingredients is the downfall because something has a lot of ingredients in it. And I want to take a look at some of this. So here is a post here on the Only Over 50 Fitness Fanatics. And it is crazy. So somebody posts this as Stephanie Lewis. She's a moderator and top. And what is the point of knowing the ingredients if you know the calories? If it's on an ultra-processed food, ultra-processed, you may want to know how many different kinds of tire propellant are located in what you just swallowed. That's why. Yeah, truth is truth. Eat real, ultra-processed food. Self-control is strength. Healing foods, healing from the inside out, all of those hashtags. And she puts up this thing. 90 calories sells a lot better than 30 ingredients. Convincing the world to count calories instead of ingredients is one of the most profitable schemes in history. Yeah, if... List the ingredients in an apple, in the chemical makeup of an apple, and you will have way more than 30 ingredients. So right there, something that is grown on a farm in your backyard, all organic, whatever you want to call it, has multiple ingredients. So trying to equate as more ingredients is inherently bad, that doesn't play. It really doesn't. Convincing the world to count calories instead of ingredients is one of the most profitable schemes in history. Now, can that be abused? Yes. But the main thing isn't counting calories. The main thing is having a nutrition plan so that you can meet your goals of longevity, health, and fitness over a long period of time. So again, it's counting calories. You can have a bad diet, fad diets where you count calories, but as soon as you get off that fad diet over a short period of time, studies show that you will gain that weight back and even more because you haven't made a lifestyle choice of consistency and eating in a healthy nutrition plan. Now, with that being said, it's interesting because I posted this and it said, if processed food, I guess now we're calling them ultra processed because they are so evil, was so bad, we would see a decline in longevity and quality of life. Not counting COVID, we have the best quality of life expectancy and infant mortality than we did 100 years ago. I've asked people who rail against processed foods why this is the case, and no one can give an intelligent answer. So we actually see the opposite. So there's that. Well, Stephanie comes out, and of course, she ends up saying the following. We have gotten very good at keeping people alive, which we absolutely have. We have medical advancements. We have advancements in medicine that keep people alive and have an awesome quality of life compared to what they did before where they would just die. Yeah, people are able to walk their daughters down the aisle to get them married and see their grandkids and great-grandkids because of these technological and medical advancements. But yeah, then she says, but being half alive and on a multitude of different prescriptions isn't exactly quality of life. But yeah, docs can do that. Here's the interesting thing that I find is people that are on this processed food are evil, and now it's ultra processed. The Illuminati processed foods that we have are so bad that being on multiple prescriptions isn't quality of life, isn't 100% true. Just because you're on multiple medications doesn't mean that you have a bad quality of life. So, with that being said, we have medications that keep people alive, like, I don't know, insulin. You have medications for diabetes, which is a genetic, not the weight loss, exercise that you can get rid of that diabetes, but I mean the genetic component. And there's a lot of other things that people can take medications for, where before in the past, 100 years ago, they would die and have zero quality of life. Whereas now, those people can take those multiple medications, they can run, they can walk, they can exercise, they can spend time with family, they can go on trips, they can continue working, they can retire in their golden years and enjoy, their pensions and whatever else. So making that assumption that this equals that is 100% not true, because that doesn't pan out. There's nothing supports that. So it's an unsubstantiated claim. This could change as baby boomers die out and younger generations come in. Younger generations are more aware of exercising. Actually, I've seen kind of the opposite. I see more middle-aged people in their 40s, if you call 40s middle age, but I'll say people in their 40s and 50s and later are seeing that exercise is key to longevity, health and fitness, and a better quality of life, and that the younger generations, there's studies showing and surveys, and like the United States military, they have a problem with younger generations because they're too fat, because they're not physically fit. They are physically and medically worse than what they were during my time of coming up in the military. So yeah, younger generations, they're aware of exercising, but a lot of them don't do that. And it's evidence in all of the armed forces that are trying to recruit people into the military, and it's just not working. You can also see a number of reports talking about the instances of childhood obesity and childhood diabetes, which was once reserved only for adults, is plaguing kids because they're not exercised and all they're doing is filling their pie holes in caloric surplus, and we'll get to that. Of course, there's the obesity issue, which has been completely attributed to chronic consumption of ultra-processed foods. Where's the proof of this? Where I would love to, I've had other people say this before, except they didn't use the word ultra, they just used processed foods. Chronic consumption. Chronic consumption? Obesity? Where's the proof? Show me a study, show me a meta-analysis, show me multiple studies that conclude over a long period of time that this is a thing. It's not. Ultra-processed foods, if you eat them within a nutritional balance, in other words, you have a goal to maintain your body weight, or you want to lose body fat, or you want to gain muscle, if you work in accordance with that nutrition plan, you can eat processed foods and you won't get obese, especially if you're on a calorie deficit or you're on a caloric maintenance plan. I don't understand why she doesn't understand this. That means consuming more of them than wholesome foods such as meat, fruit, vegetables, and simply prepared grains. Okay, so now we're getting to the point of where it's like, oh, this is similar to what a lot of other people said with processed foods. Oh, if we just ate like we did 100 years ago, we would be so much healthier. Actually, no, because with processed foods, we can infuse vitamins and minerals and all types of useful things that we didn't have before, and so we didn't grow up big and strong like we are today. It's a sad fact, but I don't know. Processed foods somehow became evil over time, and wholesome foods, this is the mentality that if you eat wholesome foods, meat, vegetables, fruit, simply prepared grains, you can grow all these things in your garden at home and raise a cow, whatever, pig, whatever it is, you can raise all of these things, and that it seems to imply that if you eat these wholesome foods, you will not get fat, which is absolutely untrue. That is 100% lie. You can eat, we'll get into this. I have a feeling you eat like that most of the time. No, you don't really know me. And you have a treat probably daily. You don't know me. and that's a fine diet. No, I don't like the word diet because that connotates a short-term plan for getting a result and that you're going to revert back to a normal eating behavior. I don't do diets. I do nutrition plans that are focused on health and longevity to reach the goals that I want to attain. So whether that is bulking up to gain muscle, whether that is cutting to lose body fat, or whether I'm trying to maintain my physique, yeah, that's going to be my nutrition plan, but they're all going to be sustainable. So in other words, if I wanted to continue bulking, eventually you're going to reach a point of where you can't bulk anymore, and I'm not going to go that crazy. But in maintenance, yeah, it doesn't matter if it's whole foods, organic foods, and we'll get into that. That diet is not the diet of the majority of people in this country. That's absolutely true. There's probably a lot of people, and we see a lot of people. We see the obesity rates are higher than what they were before, and that's because people are overeating. It's not because of processed foods. That there's no people are getting obese because they're eating too much foods, and we'll get into this. So anyway, here's my reply, and I said we have a better quality of life now than any time in history, aside from COVID, life expectancy, infant mortality, etc. We have more active seniors than any time in history. You seem to think that processed foods are the cause for declining health, when in fact it's just the body breaking down due to time. We're all going to die. Until someone makes a regeneration pill so we can live forever, we all decline in some way, shape, or form. The good news is, as a whole, we have medical advancements that give people life and a better quality of life than any other time in history. There's a number of diseases that before, when left untreated, people would die. And now, with those same diseases, people can take some medications, even if it's 2, 3, or 4 medications, and they can live with a very good quality of life, continue to with their spouse and family members, kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, the whole 9 yards, for decades, and work and vacation and retire and travel and do crazy stuff and hike mountains and do things that seniors before in previous generations just weren't able to do. So I got to call BS on this. More seniors are trekking around the world doing sports activities prior generations that were unable because of advancements in technology, medicine, exercise, and of course food. Again, we had food oases, where food was scarce, or food deserts or whatever. And the advancements of processed foods and fortifying foods has really helped. Now, are there processed foods that are bad for you? If you ate nothing but ding-dongs and ho-hos, then yeah. But you will get fat if you eat too many calories. Here, let me continue on. Please provide some proof, like studies or meta-analysis, showing this rampant danger of ultra-processed foods when eaten in a responsible manner. Nobody can provide any of those. By the way, obesity is not because of ultra-processed foods, normal processed foods, or homegrown foods for that matter. Obesity is eating an overabundance of calories so that a large surplus is stored as fat. Basic facts which you apparently don't know. It doesn't matter if you overeat processed foods or whole foods or organic foods. I've had people, have in-person discussions saying you can't get fat with organic foods. An overabundance of calories will cause fat gain. Again, obesity. By the way, I did a few experiments with diets over the years. I did all vegan, I did keto, I did low carb, I did only mass gainer shakes and protein shakes. That was really interesting. I also did ultra processed, actually it was processed, you don't need the word ultra, foods for every meal. In other words, I had frozen breakfast meals, I had frozen processed lunches and bowls and frozen TV dinners and so on and so forth. And I did a couple of things. I was able to do a bulk to gain muscle, and I did another one where I was cutting and I lost body fat of eating these evil processed foods. Ooh. And according to, what's her name, Stephanie? Yeah, according to Stephanie, apparently I should have been worse. I should have just blown up in obesity, be 500, 600, 800 pound life or whatever. And I just made sure that my ultra processed foods, my processed foods, met my daily caloric and macros for bulking and cutting or maintaining. Guess what? I accomplished each of the goals successfully. When bulking, I was able to add muscle and minimize fat gain. In other words, I did a lean bulk. And when cutting, I lost about 10 pounds of fat. So yeah, 6'2", 245 pounds with visible abs, all while cutting using processed foods. Again, TV dinners, frozen lunches, the frozen breakfast meals, whatever. I had no fresh foods at all. Yeah, tried doing that for a couple months. By the way, I also had my blood work done for an unrelated medical condition, and amazingly, I didn't experience any negative effects while I was doing the bulking or cutting when using these processed foods, the devil food. Matter of fact, I improved in my bad cholesterol. Now, this was in combination with good exercise and recovery. Hit the sauna, all of that good stuff, cardio, 75 to 150 minutes a week. I did all the exercising 3 to 5 times a week. Matter of fact, I improved my bad cholesterol. So processed foods and a reasonable nutrition plan was a win-win. And it is what it is, And the reason I did this whole thing with processed food is because I was really faced with the fact that it's like, wait a second, is this as bad as we think? And I didn't see the corresponding problems with life expectancy, quality of life, and a number of other things. Surely the blood markers in my blood labs would get worse with processed foods. They didn't. So while you can say processed foods cause obesity, that is not true. It's consuming too many calories. And I would also add to this a disproportional amount of macros. So in other words, you don't eat enough protein, you eat way too many carbs, way too many fats, and too many sugars, so on and so forth. More than what you would burn in a day and have a lot left over, it's stored as fat. Hell, you can get fat on fresh foods that you grow in your garden if you consume too much. Again, facts don't lie, but you've chosen to follow an agenda that all processed foods are bad, which is not the case when people eat responsibly. Again, let's just talk about a maintenance calorie phase of maintaining your physique, and you like the muscle tone, the muscle mass that you have, you like the body fat content that you have, and you're feeling on all fours, you're feeling really good. It can be processed foods, it can be organic foods, it can be any type of foods, but you will maintain that physique and your blood markers will be pretty good. Now, are there some benefits to eating real foods or whole foods or organic foods? It depends. It really depends. You can also look into supplementation with vitamins and minerals and so on and so forth during the processed food phase, can make up those deficiencies, if there are any. I haven't found any. So granted, I didn't take any tests to test for those deficiencies, but I didn't have any problems warranting getting those tests. So anyway, I trained a number of people, and one guy stopped losing weight. In other words, he wanted to lose body fat. I did a meal plan for him. He had some processed foods in there. He also, had vegetables and things. I never force people to eat something that they don't like because that's negative reinforcement. And if you have negative reinforcement, I found that most people don't stick to the plan. Okay, so stick to the plan. I made a nutrition plan of his favorite foods, and after a month, he stalled. He was doing the routine I sent, but stopped losing. I redid his numbers, dropped his caloric intake another 200 calories, and he still wasn't losing weight. And so anyway, let me continue on because I'll just finish reading what I put down. Anyway, finally I found out the answer. And what happened is that he was eating organic foods. And he was eating a lot of organic foods. And he thought that organic foods, some of that homegrown food thing, would not stall his progress because somehow those calories didn't count because they were real food, is what he told me. And that you can't get fat if you eat whole foods or real foods or organic foods. I've had other people tell me that as well. But in fact, you can. Matter of fact, he was eating so much that he, instead of being in like a 300 or 400 calorie deficit, he was out of that deficit, and he actually, towards the end, he was gaining a little bit of weight because of the increase of the real foods that he was eating. So basic scientific facts. Basic facts: eat too much of anything and you can get fat. So please stop demonizing processed foods. Rather, encourage people to eat a responsible nutrition plan so they can bulk, they can cut, or maintain their weight or physique so they can improve their lives. So yeah, there's that. And then what I ended up doing is posting a picture, and we'll take a look at this. There's a picture of me after my processed food cut. Yeah, when I was 54. Yeah, look at that. Still had a little bit of love handles there, but I had some decent abs, and that's not bad. Now, in reality, would I suggest somebody go on a totally processed food nutrition plan? Absolutely not. I mean, we have teeth for vegetables, and we have canines for meat, and so I'm a meat and potatoes type of guy. Eat the fruits, eat the veggies. Like Stephanie said, eat those things in moderation. But for some reason, as soon as you say process, she just kind of goes off the chain. And that is going to that extreme without looking into reality of things and making such a determination with no proof. And most of the time people say, well, look, in California, they say that these foods are carcinogens, and everything in California is a carcinogen. You go one state over and it's not. So does California really know what they're doing? Is California the state that you really want to base any type of proof? It is going down the toilet bowl quick, fast, and in a hurry. So please don't quote California says it's a carcinogen. It's just absolutely crazy. Yeah. And it's interesting. Another person said, I didn't know that we still had people think like this. You got to leave that 1978 in the rearview mirror, bro. And it's like, it is absolutely crazy. People, when you throw in the word process, suddenly they lose their minds and their ability to think reasonably and with common sense, to look at facts, to look at studies that are disinterested studies, because if you read reliable studies, there will be a conflict of interest statement in there where the researchers have to show, if they work for Big Pharma, then they have to show that they work for Big Pharma. If they work for the dairy industry or the meat industry or the ultra-processed food industry is conducting this study that proves that processed food is good, yeah, I haven't seen those, and I wouldn't rely on those to begin with because they're biased. So I rely on studies that are totally unbiased. So yeah, and calories are calories. There's a difference in calories there's a difference in calories between protein, carbs, and fats. But, within a well-balanced nutrition plan, processed foods are not the evil, demonic, Illuminati thing that a lot of people make them out to be. And like I said, I did my own little experiment on myself. My blood labs didn't change. My cholesterol actually got better. My bad cholesterol went down. My good cholesterol went up. So, all my blood markers were doing really well. Matter of fact, when I was on that processed food diet, as I was cutting, I did a bulk and then I did a cut. And then when I was doing my cut, I was doing those blood labs. I had two of them. So I had a blood lab before when I did my bulk, and at the end I did a blood lab, and at the end of my cutting I did another blood lab as well. Kidney function was good, liver function was good. There wasn't any variance. It didn't get worse or better. It was the same as when I was eating my normal nutrition plan for bulking and cutting, with real foods and vegetables and fruits and meats and so on and so forth, and not processed foods as we see. So yeah, I just don't see that as being a thing. As all of these people claim. Now, you'll have people say, well, look at all these old people on tons of medications that are barely hanging on to life. You will always have that. So that, again, is not causation. That is not saying, because of processed foods, this person is on 10 medications and they have a terrible quality of life. Well, I can show you a ton of people that don't have a ton of medications and they have a great quality of life. I can show you a ton of seniors that take multiple medications, like myself. I take a variety of medications and I have a great quality of life. I am 58 years old. I'm physically fit. I do a lot of things. I do more things at 58 than my grandfather, and definitely way more things than my great-grandfather did, because the quality of health that I have far surpasses what they had. And they ate whole foods. They ate real food, the real organic, grown in the backyard and grown on their farm. Matter of fact, my grandfather had a farm and where we had acres of fruits and vegetables in the whole 9 yards. Great-grandfather, as well. It's just hard to demonize and say that all processed foods are bad. I think it depends on what you eat and how much you eat. So if you eat nothing but Twinkies and Ho-Hos and Cheetos and tons of Mountain Dew and stuff like that, guess what? Tater tots and chili fries, you're eating way too much of that. You're going to get fat and you're going to have bad cholesterol. You're going to have bad liver, bad kidney function, and so on and so forth, because of the overabundance of not having a balanced diet, of having way too many calories, way too many fats, way too many carbs. There needs to be balance within the universe. In other words, the yin and the yang. There needs to be balance in everything. So, but to say that a blanket statement that processed foods are bad, or now it's ultra processed, it's funny how we went from processed foods are bad and evil, and now it's, the ultra processed. Well, what is the difference? What is ultra processed? Is there an extra satanic curse and they cut a goat open and pour the blood over the packaging of the food? Does that make it ultra processed? I just don't get it. And these people can't explain these things to me in a reasonable and logical manner with facts to back up their claims. So, Now, do I think it's probably wise for people to eat nothing but processed foods? Absolutely not. I just did that experiment on myself because I was curious. I had so many people, I had family members telling me processed food is the bane of our existence. And I'm like, well, if it's so bad, I'm going to give this a shot. Just like I tried low calorie, like I tried keto, like I tried vegan, all of those things. With vegan, I found out that there was a lot of supplementation that I needed to do, because if you went just vegan without supplying the things that you get from animal sources, you're going to be deficient in many areas. So unless you supplement with those things, being a vegan can be detrimental to your health. And I found that out. And it's also just too damn expensive. And the amount of protein, to try to get the amount of protein that a person needs being a vegan, is just not. The protein in vegan and vegetables and so on and so forth is just not as nutritionally dense as you would find with animal products. Now, if you're a vegan, that's absolutely fine. I don't care. If it works for you, great. Make an informed decision and run with it. But to make this blanket statement that processed foods are terrible, evil, ultra processed is the new thing now. And now we've got a ton of people that will go into grocery stores and they'll make videos saying, oh, how terrible these, look at all these ingredients. Seriously? If you take the chemical ingredients that make up an apple, an orange, or some type of homegrown food, there is more than 30 ingredients. But for some reason, people think, well, if it has words that I cannot pronounce, or it has more than 5 or 6 items, then that inherently makes it bad and not healthy. These people are operating on a level of superstition and stupidity that is just astounding. And it shows that these people haven't taken the time to study and research in any way, shape, or form. They are listening to the wackadoos that are making videos saying, oh, look at all these ingredients and blah, 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 and it's bad for you. It was interesting because one discussion I had with an individual, he said, all of these ingredients, the more ingredients it has, it's terrible. And so I sent him a list of ingredients. I said, well, what about this? And it was a huge list of ingredients. And he says, well, of course, that many ingredients is terrible. And it's like, that's the chemical ingredients for a free range egg. And he blocked me. So just because there's a lot of ingredients or a few ingredients doesn't really matter. What is most important is if you have a nutrition plan that focuses on health and longevity that is sustainable for the long term to meet your goals. And you can do that with bulking, you can do that with cutting, but ultimately you're going to get to a level where you're going to have a maintenance calorie nutrition plan that will be well balanced in protein, carbs, and fats for the long haul. And you're going to exercise, you're going to do recovery, you're going to do sauna that is good for your heart health. You're going to do cardio 75 minutes to 150 minutes a week, which has shown to reduce the chances of heart attacks and strokes up to 50%. So before, in previous generations, they did not know this. So they did not exercise. So you would see more of those things happening than what we do now. Now we're getting people that are living into their 70s, 80s, and 90s. And yes, we're still seeing people with heart attacks and strokes, but at much later stages. So people are living longer and having a better quality of life. So just to assume that because people are on multiple medications, that means they have a low quality of life, that's not necessarily true. I'm on multiple medications. I know people that are on more medications than me. They're like 10, this one guy I know is like 10 or 12 medications, but he has a great quality of life. He climbs mountains. He does whitewater rafting. He does rappelling. He does bungee jumping. He does motocross racing and all this stuff. And he's on a bunch of medications. But if he didn't have those medications, he would not have the great quality of life that he has now because he'd probably be dead. So, yeah, there's that. So, again, take everything with a grain of salt. And processed foods are not the devil or the Illuminati, as so many people claimed. And I just wanted to address this whole ultra-processed food demonizing thing. Again, I'm not advocating that people eat and have an entire diet based on processed foods. You need to have meat, veggies, and all those good things, fruits, just like she said, but you can also have processed foods as well. And if you are concerned about your health, then get blood labs and see what works for you. Don't get crazy with the stupidity of the minions that are going through grocery store aisles and pick, oh, see this is bad, this is evil, this will kill you. If all of these things that were so bad that are in grocery stores that are processed or ultra processed, then why are people living longer than we have than 100 years ago? They can never answer those questions. And the funny ones that I get, the funny ones that I like, are the ones where they sell a supplement or a protein or a shake or whatever it is, and their products have the exact same things. Like that Bobby character has the exact same things that he says are terrible for you. And he has so much contradicting information. Oh, processed foods are bad, but then he sells processed supplements and so on and so forth. And with the same ingredients that he says are terrible for you and not healthy. So again, it's, you can't say one or the other. Is 90 calories sells a lot better than 30 ingredients? Convincing the world to count calories instead of ingredients. Why don't you have a nutrition plan that's well balanced for protein, carbs, and fats, and you don't have to worry about so much about this either or type of mentality, because balance takes more than two things. It's like you have a wheel with many spokes on that wheel, and for that wheel to spin effectively without wobbling, you're going to have multiple points of support on that wheel, like a wagon wheel. You're going to have your food, you're going to have your exercise, you're going to have your recovery, you're going to have your cardio, you're going to have your food, your macros, your proteins, your carbs, your this and that, your vitamin supplementation, and so on and so forth. All of those things will give you a better quality of life, but it's no guarantee that you will have an ultimate better quality of life, because we all break down and die at different rates. And there's genetic components, things that are passed down genetically that we have absolutely no control over. And it is what it is. So do the best with what you can, but stop demonizing processed foods, because really processed foods really started when somebody took the farmer stuff and packaged it and sold it locally. And then it's like, well, hey, if we put some stabilizers in here and we put some preservatives and we infuse this with vitamins and minerals and so on and so forth, it can help a lot of people. And it has. It has proven that it has. So I don't get it. I don't get it. It just doesn't make sense. So anyway, that's what got up my nose recently, but I wanted to talk about that. And I think 40 minutes is enough. 40 minutes is enough of this craziness. So yeah, the Illuminati ultra-processed satanic Sam Smith food Lady Gaga is the reason that people get obese. No, it's because you eat too many calories, and it could be organic whole foods. You can go in the garden and eat too much of anything and get fat. Don't try to place the blame on processed food. It's the amount of food, the caloric surplus. So, yeah, a lot of stuff to digest there. Da-da-da. Get the pun? Yeah. That's it. Peace.